Well, hello everyone. You here show you the organ donor say coloring activity right here. You see right here is I went ahead and do right here is like a place you say a blank is like if most of us recall it's like seen on say on the back of a driver's license if that one thing that I remember hearing about whenever I was at working on my license was that if you want to be an organ donor, it's like talking about if it's required, to be an organ donor, and they said that it's not, and knowing about that basically that yeah I if I can remember right that I think that if I can remember right that I said that you had to be one because I wasn't quite sure really what it meant. It's like knowing about that I think it had something. I thought maybe it had something to do with not an automobile, but I thought it had something to do with the fact about that a test I guess you had to take in order to be able to pass to get your driver's license. It was, and I can remember that basic driving lessons, of course, that they were talking to you about during that time. It was, but I can remember that whenever they would be give me like say between eye exam and of course with the I talking about with the passing of the driving test it was is that they talking about is like being an organ donor it was, and I can remember that whenever that I was with somebody that we were get my driver's license get my driver's license, but then another place I went to that you talk about getting my state ID. If I can remember right, it was a state ID, and a lot of times, besides a student ID, it was a state ID. That if you were to have a state ID, a lot of times it would ask you if like on the back of the card, it would usually ask you questions like a box that you would check if you wanted to go ahead and say that you would like to be an organ donor. It is, and then select any organ it was, and of course have you sign you say on the back of it giving them say the approval to be able to say that that's okay, and which a lot of times that people probably think about that yeah, if you were to be an organ donor it was that they say it saves hundreds of lives, and of course it's good for the medical research. It is to talk about if you were to donate an organ and then somebody else that could save a life of another person. It is, and just knowing about with quite a few people that they may think that like what you call is like between funerals and of course with crematory it is like knowing about that if you were to get involved with an accident or any type of death related, and I would probably think about that anybody would probably think about that I don't really want to talk about about planning my funeral in advance, or if anything I would probably say that I would probably like to talk about maybe the high school prom, or if it's the college they say the college dance or anything like that, or anything related to the wedding, or if it's you say the vacation, or if it's like what you call is like the honeymoon or anything like that, vacation it is. But on your hand to knowing about that, anybody will probably think about that that if you choose not to be an organ donor, I guess there ain't no rule about that. It's just knowing about, I guess say it's optional, is knowing that if you think about that if you a lot of times it's like knowing about that it means what does it mean to you is like knowing about whenever if something happens to you, then knowing about that gives that gives the medical, I don't know if it's a medical department or whoever, that gives them permission of course is to cut you up, and then of course take the organs out, and then of course and then go ahead and do whatever for. And they would go ahead and handle the body with care. It is. It's like with the funeral arrangement. It is, and knowing about that, people probably think about I can. Oh no, you're not cutting me up. But on your hand too, that knowing about with the organ, it is. It's like people probably think about with taking any organ. It is, and knowing about half the time that we begin to wonder that knowing about that if something were to happen to if something were to happen to somebody like us, it's like you have a happen to me. It is. It's like knowing about something that happened to to any of us is knowing about that gives that capability to where you sign a form on the back of the driver's license or the back of the ID is knowing about I'll participate being an organ donor. But on your hand too, that knowing about people who say that they choose not to be an organ donor is that knowing about that went ahead and picked like say an eyeball right here, but a lot of people probably thinking about maybe between the heart or the liver it is. But on your hand too, that knowing about that if you have right here is the eyeball, that we could probably think about, hey, when we don't need to have to worry about it. It's like the fact about that if something happens to somebody, then more likely that you probably think about, hey, that knowing about. A lot of times people probably don't even want to complete that part, you say, of the driver's license, is knowing about if something happens to where that, whenever I die, that more likely I would like to be put, and placed in a coffin, painted in gold or painted in like a silver white or whatever you call it, delivered by an automobile, delivered by a tractor, whichever it is. Yeah, I don't want to be cremated. Here is my what you call like my funeral request or whatever you call it. I don't want to be chopped up. I don't want to be diced up into tiny little pieces. I don't want to be tossed around. I don't want to be shuffled around like a deck of cards, like a deck of cards with the fact about that all grinded up to where the people don't know the difference between the dust and the fog or whatever. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that like with an organ donor, anybody that probably says that they choose not to be an organ donor, or probably think about that you know what, man, I've given blood before. I've given blood, but I tell you one thing, that I am not going to be an organ donor. So, and I'm sure that anybody will probably think about that if you want to do something that's going to maybe save hundreds of lives, it is, and that knowing about that, if you want to donate blood, or maybe they probably think about, I even hear on the news a lot of times that people probably talking about that nowadays that you can say that you can go ahead and you can sell a kidney, you can sell a part of an intestine or a kidney, for a certain amount of money it is, and at the time it's like almost like it's the things that you hear about on the news, huh? But on the other hand too, that knowing about that, hey, this is stuff that you're born with, and knowing the fact about the things that you like to have, and I could be honest with anybody here that a lot of times, that sometimes whenever I think about it, that I may think about that I have dreams about the fact about that knowing about somebody. Maybe like a mosquito. People are thinking like a mosquito. Somebody's trying to take blood, trying to take blood, from my vein, or somebody's trying to take blood from me, just to go out and collect, blood types. It is, just to raise money or whatever it is. But on the other to say far with the organ donor, it is knowing about the way I think about. Anybody will probably think about, that's your choice, and knowing about really, why would you want to ask me if anything, maybe ask once, and more likely, each time it would probably say no, or maybe once or twice it would be yes. But knowing about that, people may think about that they may have the rules if they say that they wish to donate. But on the other hand too, that knowing about that I don't want to be chopped up and diced up. I want you. It's like you can only take a certain organ, it is. But on the other too, that knowing about with most drivers, it is talking about. It's like that knowing about that it's like say having all your permission to know about what you want to do, so far as if something does happen. But on the other too, the way I think about it, anybody would probably think about either way, it's really, they ought to maybe, if anything, know that what they really need to know on my driver's license, if anything, is if it's lost or stolen, about how to return it. And on the other hand too, that knowing about, it's like the types of education I do have. It's like the types of education. It's like talking about hey, I tell you one thing. I got I got a medical degree. So don't mess with me. But other than that, it's like you got a medical degree, or I got experienced in the CIA, or hey, I got experienced. Like I got the medical team. It's like of 12 years. It's like, but other than that, like talking about it's like for the organ donors, knowing about to really say this, it's your choice. But other than that, like talking about the organ donor activity coloring.